No problem. So this afternoon's class is going to be a class that focuses on setting up your shifts and your rotations. So those are kind of the two pieces of the foundation of building our schedule. When we set up our shifts, those are blocks of time that we assign people to indicate when they're working. So if you're looking at my screen here, we have some shifts set up. We have a patrol day shift. We have a patrol night shift. So that might be something for like a 12-hour department. Some departments might have like days, afternoons, and midnights. You may also have things like an administration shift, detective bureau, or investigations shift. Maybe you have dispatch or communication center shifts as well. So these shifts are represented as blocks on our schedule, and they will end up being populated with the names of people that are scheduled to work that day, and we'll also be able to see things like who's on a day off and so on.
Right.
So when you're building your shifts, you want to kind of consider what are these general blocks of time that we want to assign people to. Now, when we set them up, we usually assign hours to them. So this, my day shift might be 6 to 6 or 7 to 7, and my night shift might be 6 p.m. to 6 a.m. or 7 to 7, whatever it might be. We do have the ability to adjust people's start and end times, either on a day-by-day basis or for an extended period of time. And that will look something like this. So that'll show you how that shows on the screen there. So some places, some of our customers have people that maybe work a slight variant on the normal start and end times for a certain shift. Maybe we have an early car or a late car on our day shift or our night shift, or maybe our administration people, maybe they don't all work 8 to 4 or 9 to 5. Maybe one comes in at 7:30 and one comes in at 9:30 or something like that. So instead of creating different shifts for every possible start and end time that you would have, we normally set up general blocks like these here that maybe most people work. So maybe most people are on a 7 to 7 in this case here. But we then have the ability to adjust those hours. And again, that can either be day to day, or their hours can be adjusted for the whole period of time that they're on the schedule. So if they always come in early, we can always mark them as the early car.
Okay. So how do I get to that screen on my end?
Well, what I'm looking at right now, you won't have had built yet. Okay. We're going to look at how to create these shifts that'll make up these blocks here. Okay. And then we're going to talk about how to create the rotations, which will be the patterns of days on and days off that we assign people to, and that's how their names appear here. Okay. It's still a couple of classes, I think, before you start taking those things that we've created and you start plugging them into your dashboard here.
Gotcha.
Okay. So what we are going to look at that you can follow along with is how do I go in and build a shift. So to do that, you're going to go under the administration menu. And you're going to go down here to Shift Center. And we're going to do Setup Shifts. Now, I forgot to mention before, but I believe in your confirmation emails that you receive when you sign up, it has a link to a PDF of a little guide that kind of covers the items or shows the items that we're going to cover here. So if you have that, that's great. If you didn't already have it, it's also available in your toolbar. You can download it right from there. So, anything that I cover here should be pretty much outlined in there as well. So that's another tool for, afterwards, if you want to go back and review something, either the video or that document might be helpful.
Okay.
Okay, so we're in the Setup Shift screen. And as I said, you want to kind of think of the different, general blocks of time that people in your department work. To set one up, when you're in this screen, we can hit the New button here up at the top, and that'll make sure we have a blank screen here. First thing that we need to be able to enter a shift is going to be a shift code. I think that this is a max of 12 characters here. And this is kind of an abbreviation of the shift. So you can see some examples over here, you know, patrol days, patrol evenings. This is used in certain views where maybe we can't spell the whole shift name out, so we just use the code here. So something along these lines here. So what I might do as an example is I might do something like, maybe this is one of my communications shifts, so I might do so maybe it's our communications afternoon shift. So something like that, COMMAFT or COMAFT, something along those lines, something that, you know, would be recognizable to somebody who sees that somewhere. Again, certain views that we have, like monthly schedules, it uses that code to indicate when somebody's working and what shift they're working.
Gotcha.
Our description can be up to 25 characters, and that is going to be used whenever we have a shift block like you see here. We're going to use this whole description. So whatever you write in here is going to appear on your daily schedule tiles like you see here. So I might do something like, this is a maximum of 25 characters. So I might do something like that. What some departments will do, if you know, everybody or most people on that shift work the same hours, and I want to be able to view that right on the schedule there with the title of the shift, is we can add those hours to the description. So maybe this is 1600 to midnight. Okay, so again, a maximum of 25 characters. And you just want to kind of consider, like, what would I want to see up at the top here of these shift blocks when we create them. Okay, the next section here is abbreviation. Now, it's not a required field, but I do highly recommend you put something in here because there are a couple of schedule views, I think 2 schedule views on the web that still use that abbreviation when we want to show somebody's working. It's like the monthly schedule and the yearly calendar. And those are instances where we have a lot of information that we're trying to show. So in order to save some space, we use a single letter abbreviation. Okay. So what a lot of departments will do is just use like D for days, you know, A for afternoons, N for nights, or M for midnights.
Only be 1 character?
1 character for this, right. So just something that, you know, if I was looking at like a long-term schedule, it would maybe kind of indicate if I was working days, nights, you know, midnights, whatever, afternoons. I've also seen some departments where, you know, they might have kind of a pre-existing number where they might call it like shift 1, 2, and 3 might be, you know, days, afternoons, and midnights, or however they might do it. So I've seen departments use the number there as well. But for my example here, I'm just going to give it an A for afternoons. So if I was looking at my schedule and I was a communications person and I saw that A there, I would know that that means I'm working the afternoon shift that day. Okay?
Yeah.
And then the start and end time. This is going to be the start and end time of this shift. So in this case, 1600 to midnight. And again, you know, you don't have to build one of these shifts for every possible start and end time. Normally what we do is we kind of group people together who have similar start and end times and maybe just adjust their hours. Okay?
Yeah.
Okay. We're going to skip some of these items here. Payroll codes, they might come into play later for your department if you're doing payroll, but a lot of places don't even end up needing these. But I will just point out right down here, active. This box should be checked by default when you go to enter a new shift, but if it's not, you can go ahead and check it. That just means that that is a shift that we are currently using. We're actively using that shift. The other item that you have down here that we want to pay attention to right now is shift starts on current day. And that is used when we're talking about shifts that span midnight. And that's how we kind of indicate to the system, for this shift that spans midnight, what do we consider it? Do we consider it to be the day that it starts, or do we consider it to be the day that it ends? So if I come in tonight and my night shift starts at 11 o'clock and goes into the next day, do we consider that to be today? If so, you mark shift starts on current day. If you consider it to be tomorrow, then you would leave that unchecked, and the system would then consider that to be tomorrow's shift.
Gotcha.
Make sense?
Yes.
Okay. All right, so then the last item that we're going to focus on right now is at the bottom here. We have validate minimum staffing levels. And this just lets us indicate whether we want to later on, I think maybe 2 or 3 classes down the line, do we want to set up minimum staffing levels for this shift? So, you may be familiar that our system has the capability where we can set up minimum staffing levels for our shifts. So we can say, we have to have 1 sergeant or 1 supervisor and 5 officers on this shift. And, if we fall below that, the system can change color, like you see this red shift in the background here on mine. That shift has fallen below minimum staffing. So at this point, we're just indicating whether this shift is something we want to set up minimum staffing rules for later. So maybe our patrol shifts, we do want to set up minimum staffing rules, but maybe for administration and investigations, there aren't really any minimum staffing rules. Maybe communications, if you have that, maybe there are rules for those shifts. So you would mark those shifts with yes in the little radio button here. Yeah. And you would do no if you don't want to set up staffing rules for those shifts later on. Okay. So those are the main things that we have to set up here. Just to recap before I hit save, you want to do a shift code of up to 12 characters, kind of an abbreviation of what the code is. You'll want to do a description of up to 25 characters, and that will allow you, or that will be what displays above each shift when they're displayed like this. And an abbreviation of 1 character for certain views where we don't have a whole lot of space. A start time, an end time. Make sure it's active. And then if a shift spans midnight, you have to indicate whether the shift starts on the current day or not. And if you want to set up minimum staffing levels later, mark yes. If you don't need to set up staffing levels for this shift, you can mark no. Okay? Mm-hmm. All right, perfect. At this point, any questions on setting up shifts or any situations on any shifts that you have questions about?
No, I think it's pretty self-explanatory. You have some set up in here already, so if we don't use them, we can just click on it and hit delete, right? Exactly.
Yep. So I'm going to save this one for now just so it goes through and it gets saved in there, and in the same way I can click on it and I can remove it. Yeah, we pre-populate some. Sometimes they might be useful to you. Sometimes they may just be something you can look back at for a reference. but if you don't need it, you just click on it and delete it. And it'll just ask, are you sure? And you'll tell it yes.
And can we change it? Like if you have patrol days, I can change the hours on that, right?
The only thing that you can't change from here would be the shift code. So if I pick one of these right here, I can change the description, the abbreviation, the start and end time, the checkboxes here, all that. I just can't change the shift code. So either A, if the shift code is fine for you and you just want to tweak everything else, that's fine, you can do that.
Or we can just delete it, start over.
Or you can delete it or start over. Or the third option would be, after you make your other changes here, we do have an option right here to change shift code. So it's a separate step where you could go in and say, okay, I want to take this code, COM days, and I want to change it to be COM, D or something like that, and then I can apply the change. I think that this change shift code thing may not let you put a space in though, so it has a little bit of a limitation to it. So you may be better off just kind of doing it, over if you want to. But I think like you can't put in spaces on this here. I think you have to make it just a full, or put a character in there like an underscore or something like that.
Okay.
That's what that little red exclamation point was. So that's your third option, but you may be best off if the code doesn't work for you, just deleting it and entering the information over again.
Gotcha.
Okay. Any other questions at the moment?
No, I think that's it for that.
Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you about 10 minutes to enter some shifts in there. So that way, you can see if you have any questions that come up. Plus, the next step, when we start looking at our rotations, they do require you to have some shifts in there. So, I'll give you an opportunity to maybe enter a few of those now. Okay. So, like I said, I'll give you about 10 minutes. You can go ahead and give that a shot. If you have any questions as you go along, you can just, say something. I'll be monitoring the phone as we go.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, no problem.
Master shift, we don't have to put anything?
No, you don't need anything for that. That's something that's an older feature, not really used any longer. And the other stuff like the payroll department or the payroll codes, they might be used later, but we won't really know that until we start talking to payroll.
Okay.
And security section, that's like an older security function that we don't really use much anymore.
Okay, thanks.
No problem.
So the abbreviation can't be the same as on another shift, correct?
You can use the same abbreviation, you just can't use the same shift code. So, sometimes like if we had like, let's say patrol days and we had communications days or something like that, they might both use D as an abbreviation. Now, obviously, if I'm an officer and I'm looking at my schedule and I see D, I know that I'm working patrol days and not communications days or anything like that, or vice versa. So, yeah, some departments do reuse those in a way that just kind of makes sense, as far as different people looking at their schedule. The other thing I will mention is that they, I believe they're working to actually use that less to maybe even not at all, as we redesign some screens on the web to try to allow to fit more information. They'll probably eventually end up switching them to shift code, but for now it's still in use, so that's why we want you to fill it out still.
Gotcha.
Okay.
I just changed the shift code.
What was that?
I just changed a shift code. I wanted to see if I could change one.
Okay. Yeah, like I said, if it's close, that might be an option for you.
I think I'm pretty good.
Okay. Cool. All right, perfect. So we're going to move on from there. So after you've created shifts, that's when we can start building your rotations. Okay. What I'll mention real quick, in case you're following along on that sheet, there's a little portion there that talks about update schedule times. That's kind of what I was saying before about how you can adjust someone's start and end times. That's a tool that you can use later once you've assigned someone to their schedule to adjust their start and end time. So I talked about that a little bit before, so I'm not going to spend too much more time on that. That's something that you'll use more once you actually have people on the schedule on their rotations.
Okay.
Okay. So the next item after that, which starts on page 5, is set up rotations. Our rotations are going to be our patterns of days on and days off, and it's also going to be used to indicate what shift the person works when they are working. So to create these, we're going to go under the Build Schedule menu, and we're going to go here to Update Rotations.
Okay, Build Schedule.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, and update rotations. So again, I think this comes with a handful pre-built in there. They might not be useful to you, but at least they're kind of examples. So even if you just kind of look at them for examples, and then you can delete them if you don't need them. But I'll use one here as an example. We'll take an admin Monday through Friday. So our rotations, they each have a code which consists of up to 2 parts, or not up to 2, it has to be 2 parts, but the first part can be up to 5 characters, and usually we use this part to maybe indicate which department or which group of people in our organization uses these rotations. So admin, here's our communications rotations. Some departments might just mark these all as PAT for patrol, or you might mark them individually by which squad they are. That's fine too. Records, detective bureau, things like that. The second part of the code is a little bit longer. It can be up to 15 characters. And sometimes we use this to maybe kind of distinguish this rotation from other rotations. So sometimes we do it by maybe indicating what days of the week this rotation works. So this is an admin Monday through Friday rotation. Or down here we have a communications, this is a Tuesday through Saturday rotation, and a Wednesday through Sunday rotation, Thursday through Monday. Or sometimes it's used, if our rotations are done based on maybe our squads, then we might have a squad A, squad B, squad C, squad D. It's possible you might have A days, A evenings, A nights, something along those lines for your different rotations. So that's our 2-part code that we do at the top. The description can be up to 25 characters. So in that case here, we just spelled out administration Monday through Friday. Next, we pick a start date. We want to pick a start date that is the first day in a set of work days for that rotation. So if we're dealing with a Monday through Friday rotation, that's pretty simple. We want to start on a Monday. That's the first day that they work. And then what we normally do is we normally build our rotations out for about 5 years. That means that that rotation, that template, is available for the next 5 years. It doesn't mean you have to assign people to it for that long. Usually people might assign it for a year at a time, or maybe half a year at a time, something like that. But building that template out that far just means that you don't have to go in and rebuild these every year. The template you built will be good for 5 years.
Gotcha.
Okay. So that's our end date. We usually do the end of the last day of the year on whatever year we choose, and we normally do about 5 years out. Then we come down here, we click in work, and we say how many days starting on this day of the week here. How many days do they work? So again, Monday through Friday is a very basic rotation. It's a 5 and 2. They work 5 days, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and then they're off 2. And then this over here says when we put someone on this rotation, on this admin Monday through Friday, on their work days, what shift should we put them on? Okay, so you might have people in your department that work Monday through Friday in admin. You might have people that work Monday through Friday in Detective Bureau and in records. Those need to be separate rotations if you want them to be, showing on separate shifts. So even though they all work Monday through Friday, because they're different shifts, we need different rotations for them. Okay, once you have your days worked and your days off and your shift here in the shift 1 column, you would come up here and you would hit save, and the system would take a moment, might take a minute or two to build that template out for the next 5 years. And then once it's done, it'll tell you that your template has been saved, and it'll add that to the list over here. Okay?
Yeah.
Another example, I'll show you real quick. So in this case here, Squad A, and this is like a Pitman schedule, which is, is based on 12-hour shifts. So for these group, they do 2 days on, 2 days off, 3 days on, 2 days off, 2 days on, 3 days off. And then they repeat that again for days. And then they switch over to evenings. So I don't know if you have this in your department, but some places might do a couple of weeks of days and then a couple of weeks of nights, and they rotate back and forth on that. So in that case, it may require us to build a number of lines in here until we hit the point where it would go back to the top and repeat again.
And how do you tell it when to go back to the top and repeat? You just have to keep typing it over?
Well, what'll happen is whatever we put in here, it will build, and when it runs out of stuff, that's when it's going to go back up to the top.
Okay.
So in this case here, which is a little bit unusual the way it was left, it would be one rotation of days, then a second rotation of days, then a rotation of evenings, and then back up to days again. Now, what's probably more likely is it would do days twice and then evenings twice is probably the most common.
Right.
How do you guys, whoops, not 5 days. How do you guys do it? What are your rotations like?
So the AM shift would be Monday, Tuesday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and then Wednesday, Thursday. And then they
okay.
do evenings.
Okay, so yeah, so you're on 12-hour shifts then. You're on like that Pitman schedule.
Yeah.
Okay. So right here, I filled these in here. If I wanted to fill this in with patrol evenings, I could go one at a time and open it up, and I could say, okay, patrol evenings. Or I have a tool here where I could highlight a bunch of blank spots here, and I could go down here and I could say, change selected shifts to, and then I could find my patrol evenings, and then I could hit apply. And that'll fill those all in for me in one shot. So your people, they rotate every 2 weeks. Is that right? So I'm on days for 2 weeks and then nights for 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Okay. So then yours wouldn't be quite as long as this. Yours would look something more like this, where you would say days for 2 on, 2 off, 3 on, 2 off, 2 on, 3 off, and then you'll probably do nights for 2 on, 2 off, 3 on, 2 off, 2 on, 3 off. And that's as far out as you'd have to go, because then the system will know, yep, the system will know, okay, swing it back up to the top and just repeat that over and over again. Okay. Now with your Pitman schedule, with your rotation, so you said that like the first week I work Monday, Tuesday, right? And then I'm off Wednesday, Thursday, and then I work Friday, Saturday, Sunday?
Correct.
Okay, so what you're going to want to do for your start date is you're going to want to choose the first, that Monday that they work. So do you guys divide it up like almost like squad A, B, C, and D? Is that kind of how you guys are divided up? Or
1, 2, 3, 4.
1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so I'm going to create a new one here, and I'll work through one here with you. So as far as the first part of the code, it's up to you. If you want to group them all together, you could just do PAT for patrol. And then here you could do squad 1. And then your description's up to 25, so whether you want to write out patrol squad 1, that's fine. All right, then for your start date, you want to say, okay, let's find a Monday that Patrol Squad 1 worked. And what I would say to do is maybe try to find one like around now or, maybe within the past couple of weeks. When did Patrol Squad 1 work Monday? So if it was the 29th of August, that's fine. And down here, that's what I was saying about maybe running it out for 5 years. So what I normally do is I click on the year here, and I say, okay, +5 brings us to 2021. And then just so that way this doesn't cut out in the middle of the year for me, I make this December, so I just type 12 on here, and that'll make it December, and I can type 31 in here to make it December 31st. So that way, in 2021, we have a full year. It doesn't just cut out in the middle of the year.
Okay.
So then if this is a Monday that Patrol Squad 1 works, I know I'm going to say 2 on, 2 off, 3 on, 2 off, 2 on, 3 off. And then whatever Squad 1 worked, starting that Monday. If it was days or nights, whatever it might be, I'm going to go ahead and say, all right, let's make that, I'll just say day shift. And then we know that,
where did you go find that? What did you click on find?
Oh, so either A, you can do it 1 shift at a time by using the drop down here.
Okay.
Or if you put, three lines in here, you can highlight all 3 by click and drag. And then down here it says change selected shifts to. And when I hit the shift button, that lets me pick what shift I want to change it to.
Gotcha.
And then just hit apply, and that will place that shift in whatever of those boxes you have highlighted.
Okay.
Okay. So now I'm going to do the same pattern of days on and days off. And I'm going to highlight these remaining empty blocks. And I'm going to say those are going to be our patrol night shifts.
Very good.
What's that?
I said very good.
Yep, so then we'll go ahead, we'll hit save. So that'll build it out. Like I said, it may take a minute depending on how fast your computer is and how, kind of quick your connection is. But it's going to go ahead and it's going to create that template for the next 5 years, so it's available for you to use. And once it's done, it'll tell you save and build are finished. You'll hit OK, and that will pop up over here in your list.
Pop up over where in my list?
On the left-hand side here, the list of rotations.
Okay.
Now, a cool little thing that you can use to kind of make things a little bit easier on yourself is I can find my Patrol Squad 1, and I can click on it. And it loads all that information up here. Now what I could do is I could use this, and I could just make some changes here. As long as I make a change to either part of the code, when I save this, this will save as a new rotation. So I can say, let's do Squad 2 next. So I can delete the 1 and put a 2 there. And I can delete this 1 and put a 2 there. And then probably the easiest thing for you to do is to figure out, well, when did Patrol Squad 2 work Monday on days? So, maybe it's the following week that Squad 2 worked Monday on days. Maybe it's the 5th. Everything else should remain the same because they would work Monday and Tuesday, and then the other squad would come in for the next 2 days, and that should match up like that, as long as you choose the correct start date. Okay, does that make sense?
Yeah. And then you have to hit save.
That's right. So just make sure you made at least one change to the code up here, either part. Otherwise, it'll just overwrite your existing one. Okay. But because I made this Squad 2 instead of Squad 1, when I hit save, this will build that rotation, and it will save it as a separate item called Squad 2.
Nice.
That just prevents you from having to go in and enter the days on and days off and the shifts all over again. You just make sure you choose the right start date as, Squad 2's Monday on days. And you'll see here we now have Patrol Squad 1 and Patrol Squad 2 showing up in our list there.
Okay. So the Squad 1 that I created, I accidentally put 12. Like there was a 2 next to the 1. How do I get rid of that 2? Do I have to delete it and start over?
Are you talking about up here in the code?
Yeah.
Well, what you can do is you can click on the Squad 1, or well, Squad 12, I guess, technically, and then you can just delete that 2, and you can hit save, and that'll build a second one called Squad 1, and then I would just go and delete the Squad 12. Yeah, that's right.
Gotcha.
Yeah, so the rule of thumb is if you leave the code the same, it'll just overwrite what was there before. If you make any changes to either part of the code, it will create a new entry with whatever changes you made.
Okay. All right, that makes sense. I'll do one more.
Yeah, I was going to say that should be pretty easy for you to do your A, B, C, and D, because once you have the first one built, it should just be a matter of changing it to say, I'm sorry, Squad 1, 2, 3, and 4, I should say.
Right.
It should just be a matter of changing the number and then adjusting the start date to whatever day that group worked day shift on Monday.
Right.
And what'll probably happen is you'll probably end up, I assume, with 4 consecutive weeks because they probably all work Monday on a different week. Right. I'm sorry, they all work days on Monday on a different week, I should say.
Right.
Maybe we leave a person there? I don't know. They didn't give me anything.
Okay, so trying to do in dates in the future.
Mm-hmm. And just keep in mind that, like, when you go to put people on these rotations, it's only going to have data from that date that you use. So, if you're looking at October, but you plan on, having people start to train, maybe in the end of September or the beginning of October, there might not be any data there. So it may be a little bit better to go backwards just to make sure that, by, let's say, October 1, you have a full schedule with everybody on it.
Okay, that makes sense, because I think we are the second week of October, our training. So I'll go back to August.
Okay.
For this platoon, because that was their last Monday.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see. Oh, okay. Monday, September 12th, we'll use. Okay, so it's showing. Sorry, I'm getting a phone call. I don't know how to hang it up.
It's okay.
Can you hear me over the ringing or no?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay. So I'm creating the third platoon, but for work on and work off, there's nothing there, and I forget how to put it there. There's zeros.
Okay, so if you want to base it off of one of the ones you already created, just click on that. So like Squad 1 or Squad 2, and then just make the changes to the code and the description.
Okay, right.
Mm-hmm. Otherwise, you can obviously put it all in manually if you like, but that's just a little bit less work for you.
Right. This is much easier. And then hit apply.
The apply that down there is for changing a selected shift to something you choose here. So I think if everything here is done and you have your the right numbers here and you have the right start date for when they work Monday on days, then you want to hit save up here.
Okay, right. And I'm getting the circle, so it'll take a minute.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, good. It worked.
Now, another thing that you can do is if you want to kind of check your work and make sure things are looking good, if I click on one of my rotations here, I can go up here to View Sample, and that will show me a sample starting from whatever day I started on. So I started on August 29th, so we have 2 days on days, and then 2 days off, and then 3 days on days, and 2 days off, and 2 days on days, and then 1, 2, 3 off, and then we start nights.
Okay.
So that might be helpful if you just want to check and make sure everything looks good. You can use that instead of waiting until you assign people to it to then figure out if it's right or not.
Okay. So I just created the fourth platoon. So
okay.
As soon as it saves, I will view the sample just to make sure it's right.
Very good.
So did you just pick like platoon 1 and then view sample?
That's right. Yep. And that will generate a calendar view
of 2016. Okay, cool.
Yeah, so yours probably pick up, around August like mine does somewhere, maybe September.
really big. How do I get down to, oh, what's it doing?
What were you trying to do?
So, okay, so looking at yours.
Yeah.
How does it, your zoom is, can I make the zoom a little bigger?
What do you mean, like to see what I'm showing you, or?
Like, what is that on September 2nd? What does that say on there?
Oh, here, I can do this, which might help a little bit. But on mine, what it says is PD days. And if you hover over it, it'll also give you a little like dialog box that shows you what it says in case you can't see it all.
So what if I say anything?
If yours doesn't say anything?
Mm-mm.
Did you try hovering over it? Sometimes if your resolution might be too high, you might not be able to see the code there. Did you try kind of hovering towards the bottom of the line?
No, like there's nothing written on it on this calendar. That for the Patrol Platoon 1 that I created, I'm not seeing days written anywhere or.
Okay, let's see. Let me see if I can make you the presenter, and then I can see what you're looking at. I think I can. So you should get a request.
Got it.
Okay, perfect.
Should I hit OK for about the mouse?
What does it say?
You've shared your mouse. Always.
Oh, yeah. You can hit OK on that.
Okay.
And there might be one other thing that says something like, you're now the presenter. Do you want to show your screen? Something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you want to hit OK or show my screen on the. There we go. Okay. So I see it. What you're seeing here. I have a feeling. Yeah. So I think it's just your resolution that it's kind of compressing the box so you can't see it. So unfortunately, you kind of have to rely on just the hover over here towards the bottom of the box.
Okay.
Unless you were able to maybe change your resolution to give it a little more room on here. The other thing you might be able to do is this, which might give you just a hair more room. I mean, you can kind of see them now in there.
Kind of see it as long as I hover over.
Yeah, to check it. So yeah, that's just a resolution thing. It's just out of rooms. It ends up getting compressing the area where the shift is.
So like if I change my resolution to smaller, I'll be able to see it.
I believe so. Yes. Yeah, you can give that that a shot. But yeah, that should work for you.
Yeah. Okay. All right.
Okay.
Makes sense. Yep.
Okay. So that was all 4 of the platoons that you built?
This is just platoon 1 that I was viewing a sample. Can I view a sample of all 4 or no?
Not at the same time. It would be one at a time. Yeah.
One at a time. Okay. That was just platoon 1. That was my first one, and I didn't see anything.
Yeah, but I mean, you did build all 4 already, correct?
Yes, I did build all 4.
Okay, perfect. So, maybe what you want to do is after we get off, maybe you can play around with your resolution and check that out a little bit.
Okay.
If you want to kind of verify that those are correct.
Okay.
Aside from that, are there any? I mean, obviously, I'm sure there's other rotations in your department. Are most other people on a Monday through Friday type schedule? Do you have anybody else that has anything that might be a little different, or it might be a little
No,
more difficult to put in?
Friday.
Okay. All right, so I mean, there's plenty of examples of Monday through Friday in here. As you can see, I mentioned you can clear out anything you don't need, but you know, they're pretty easy. You just kind of give it a code and a description. Make sure you start on a Monday, you know, this Monday, last Monday, whatever you want to use, and then it's just 5 and 2 and whatever their shift is.
Okay.
And I skipped it, but of course, don't forget to make the end date. Like I said, I usually go about 5 years. So.
Okay. All right, so the 5 years, I'm setting it up for 5 years, but the patrol officers, they'll only be able to see the current year, correct?
Right. When it comes time, when you get to the class where you're going to assign people to your rotations, you assign them for a period of time. So,
okay.
you know, it looks at that looks at that template that you built, and it just uses whatever little snippet we tell it to do.
Okay.
Depending on how your department operates, some departments, you know, build the schedule for like a year at a time. Some departments, if they, you know, maybe they bid twice a year on shifts, so they might only build it out for 6 months at a time. But whatever you've built it out for, that's what they'll be able to see. Plus, they can go back, you know, obviously now they can't go back, but as you move into the future, they'll be able to see as far back as you had the schedule built.
Okay, that makes sense.
Okay. Okay. Well, it looks like we got your most complex rotations done with your platoon 1, 2, 3, and 4.
Yeah.
Are you comfortable with the Monday through Fridays? Like I said, they're pretty easy.
Yeah. Yeah, I am.
Okay. Yeah, just if there's anything that you're going to use, like the administration one, just make sure that it's pointing to the administration shift that you're using. You know, if there's already one in the system, that's fine. But if you deleted it and created a new one, you just want to make sure it's pointing to that shift.
Okay. And make sure that it's set for a date that really was like on Monday, like September 5th.
Yeah, I mean, that's, if you go back to the screen where you create them, it tells you what day of the week it was. So you know it was Monday. You don't have to redo that if you don't want to. You know, just because it starts further back, we just wouldn't use that information that far back. But that's fine too. But that's everybody else though, mostly Monday through Friday. There's nothing else that you think might give you a little challenge?
No, I mean, like the detectives, they are Monday to Friday. Some of them are 9 to 5. Some of them are 12 to 10.
Okay.
That would be the shift code. The shift.
Right. So you might do like a detective day and a detective night shift, or a detective day and detective afternoon, whatever you guys call it.
Right.
And then, you know, you would just have 2 different rotations, one that's Monday through Friday pointing to the day shift, and one that's Monday through Friday pointing to the afternoon shift.
Correct. And then sometimes there's always a detective on call, but he doesn't show up in the schedule unless he gets called in for a call.
Okay.
Like
so that, right, so what would probably happen with that is if you weren't actually building their on-call schedule or their on-call rotation or whatever into the schedule, then what most departments do is they just, if I'm a detective and I got called in today, you know, and it's the weekend, then maybe I put in some type of overtime entry that signifies that I have to be paid for the time that I worked.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah, I think that's pretty much it for that.
Okay.
Shifts.
Okay, perfect. Well, that's everything that we set out to cover in this class. You know, is just building your shifts and then building your rotations. In a later class, I forget which number it is, but you'll go over how do I then, you know, assign people to those rotations to actually build your schedule. But that'll be in one of the upcoming setup sessions.
Okay.
Okay, but now, you know, between now and your next class, you can just build any additional shifts that you have if you didn't get them done now, and you can continue finishing your rotations.
Okay, great. I will.
All right. As I mentioned before, you have that guide that you can print out, that handout that comes with the thing. You should also get a link to the recording if you want to go back and review this at all later on. You can do that. And if you are stuck on anything or you need help with anything, you can feel free to sign up for our help out sessions. They're found in the same place where you would sign up for the regular basic setup sessions.
Right.
And a help out, I don't know if you've had one yet. It's a 45-minute one-on-one with a trainer. So it's kind of like what today was for you because nobody else showed up to this class. But those, it kind of guarantees that it's just going to be you and the trainer. And it's a scenario where we when you sign up for it, we just ask you to kind of indicate what it is that you're looking for help with or looking to go over, and then somebody will work with you at that period of time.
Gotcha.
So if anything pops up where you're stuck, you can always sign up for one of those as well.
Okay. Thank
All
you.
right.
Yeah.
No problem. Any other questions before we sign off here?
I think that's it.
All right. Great. Well, thank you very much for your time today.
Thank you.
And have a great day.
You too.
Thanks. Bye-bye.